Hello, everybody. This is Esther's Purpose, and I'm Valerie Gilchrist. Thank you all so very much for joining us this evening. I have a special guest with me tonight, but before I introduce her, I want to remind my viewing and listening audience that this is Esther's Purpose, and we are broadcasting from WYTV7 out of Charlotte, North Carolina. And I want you all to know that WYTV7 is a nonprofit organization, and we do take donations. You can go right to our website, WYTV7.org, click the donate button. $7 goes a long way in helping a nonprofit spread the message. We're trying to make sure that we encourage people to keep staying the course. No matter how hard life gets, we want to bring people on our show that will encourage you to stay the course. So I want to introduce my guest to you all tonight. My guest is Britney Dent. She is a teacher, a life coach, a mother, and a pastor's wife. Britney grew up in a small town as a preacher's kid. She overcame many issues and struggles to succeed. Britney has a degree in sociology and a minor in human development and family studies. She has been a public school teacher since 2011. She began a life coaching business for teens and parents of teens in 2017. Britney helps teens by coaching them to make the best choices for their health, academics, and relationships. Britney has helped numerous young people overcome the unique challenges that were keeping them from achieving greater success. Britney's newest endeavor is working alongside her husband in his new ministry, Gate City Church of Christ, which will launch in April this year, 2019, which will, Britney enjoys meeting new people and encouraging people to keep going even when the going gets tough. Hey, Britney, how are you tonight?
Hi, Valerie. I am wonderful. How are you?
I am doing great. Thank you so much for taking time out of yourself. Very busy schedule here to come on and let our audience get to know you and who you are and what you do.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Now, before we get into all this good stuff that you're doing now, I want to back up a little bit. You said that you were a preacher's kid. Tell me what that's like. I wasn't a preacher's kid, but, you know, people who are preacher kids always make sure everybody knows that they were a preacher kid. So tell us, what was that life like for you being a preacher's kid?
Well, I think that preacher's kids say I was a preacher's kid as a disclaimer so that you know what not to expect from us. Because a lot of times as a preacher, your family is living in what we call the fishbowl. And so everyone is watching everything we do, what we say, how we dress, what we drive, just everything that we do. And so it's really important to know that I was a preacher's kid because I'm used to kind of being in the spotlight, and that really affects you on a personal level when you're not in the spotlight and you go home and you don't really know who you are. You just know who you have portrayed yourself to be for the sake of your family. So it is very important in that way. And then also I am pretty busy, as you can tell from the things in my bio, but that started from being a preacher's kid. The church I grew up in was a small town church, and so I had to do tutoring, I had to clean the building, I had to do everything that my dad didn't do. And so that kind of helped me along my journey as far as working hard and being successful and having these high expectations for myself and other people.
Okay, well that gave us a good view of that. So even though that you were a preacher's child, well, you are a preacher's kid and a pastor's wife and mom and all of that. Before all of that happened, though, being a preacher's child, did that shield you or shelter you from just going through the natural issues of life everybody else goes through?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And that is another thing, too, that I like to kind of tell people is that my word for this year is authentic. So every year I give myself a word, and this year it is authentic. And I want to be more transparent, more authentic, to show people that even though I know right from wrong, I haven't always done what is right. Or even though I have hope for something in the future, that doesn't mean I don't get discouraged or go through different issues. And so absolutely not. It doesn't shelter you from much of anything. Your parents try to shelter you because they know, how sinful the world is. But you still live in this world. And so you have those experiences, but you have hope to get through it, and you have a support system to get through it.
Good, good. Well, tell us about a little of those struggles being a young person, before you a preteen, a teen, growing up into that. Tell us about some of those situations that even though you were a preacher's kid, you were like the rest of us, and those struggles that you still had to go through and how you dealt with them.
Yeah, so typical preteen and teen issues. I was bullied quite a bit. I don't even know if it's as bad as bullying situations now. I do teach 6th grade, and so some of the things that I deal with every day is just heartbreaking and atrocious. But I was bullied a lot for a lot of different reasons. I considered suicide several times as a teenager, and I just went through so much that a normal teenager goes through, but I was not able to tell anyone. I had to pretend that everything was okay. I had to wear this mask like everything was okay, even though it wasn't. So that was probably the hardest part, is having those same struggles with bullying and low self-esteem and suicidal ideations, all of that as everyone else did, but having to pretend that I wasn't having those thoughts.
Yes. So now did those thoughts of suicide come from the bullying? Because I've done a lot of studying and research and reading and talking to people who have been bullied. I did not experience that for myself, but I do know that it's very traumatic for the people who have had to deal with that. And so is that where your thoughts of suicide came from, because of the bullying, or did that come from something else?
I believe it was a combination of things. And then you have the internal issues, then you have external issues. And so I had a lot of internal issues before, and then going to school and getting all that kind of reiterated and all the negative reiterated made it even worse. And so once you get to the point where you feel like I'm a burden to people or no one's going to miss me anyways, that's when you get to the point where you're like, okay, well, I might as well not be here. And so it's important to have at least one friend or one relative or a book or a song or something to kind of bring you back and give you that positivity and remind you of the bigger picture, so to speak.
So what did you do? What did you do? Several of those things that you just listed, or what was your safe place when the world was too much for me and you just really didn't want to be it anymore? What did you use? Because I would really like for our audience to know this, because again, we broadcast all around the world, and there are people who are in all kind of situations listening to this broadcast. And so, if I was maybe felt like that, you would be getting my attention. And so I want to know, what did you do, especially as a young person? Not that older people don't have thoughts of suicide, but we've got a lot of young people that are really struggling today. And so what did you do as a teen to bring you out of that? When you knew you were going down that dark path, how did you bring yourself back?
I think it is a combination of things. And so I kind of mentioned really briefly the music or the books or things like that. And of course, the Bible was one, but you get to a point when you've memorized so much scripture, it's kind of numb. You don't really care about that, definitely at that age. And so even songs, I'm really, really big on the type of music that my children, my students, my clients listen to, because it has a tremendous impact. And we know even the Bible discusses music and, having songs when you're merry and using songs to, make you joyful. And so I believe that music was one of the things that helped to kind of heal my mind. And then just being so busy, I was involved in a lot of activities as far as dance and band and Girl Scouts and things like that. So it kind of takes away less time to be isolated. The isolation is what kind of helps you breathe that negativity and breathe that suicidal thought process, where there's no one around you, so no one cares, no one will miss you. But when you're involved in something else, you don't have time to dwell on that. And so I really, really, for parents or mentors or teachers who have students who seem lonely or isolated, befriend them, find them a friend. I definitely do that all the time. I had a new student come a few weeks ago, and I told some of the other girls, you need to befriend her. She doesn't have to be your best friend, spend the night with you every weekend, but you need to make her feel welcome, make her feel noticed. And so even as parents, ministers, teachers, cousins, just making someone feel like they're noticed can actually save their life, just so that they know that someone knows they're here and that they matter.
That's great. I mean, I don't remember I was a military kid. My dad was in the Air Force, and so we traveled a lot. And I can remember going, every time we moved, every few years we were moving. So we didn't have that, we were always new and a lot of the other kids were new. And so I think because we were in the military, everyone was used to moving and everybody was used to being new anyway. So we didn't necessarily have that struggle of, coming in new and you weren't used to that being just a normal way of life. So that's great that you encourage, the kids to do that, because, sometimes kids won't do that on their own, especially if you have that brand new kid that comes in and there's already a group that's already established and you don't necessarily reel them in. So I take my hat off to you. That's great that you as an educator recognize that, and you encourage that and coach that in your class. That's great. So let's move forward a little bit. So now you've done that and you've worked through those struggles. You use it as far as being a teacher. So let's fast forward now to where you're at now. Okay. So you're married and you're a mom and you're a preacher's wife. And so how are you now balancing all of that? How many, with wife, kids, your businesses, how are you balancing that and making sure that you're okay in the process?
I actually probably just over the last 2 years started maintaining a healthy balance. Sometimes when you're in so many different things, then you're not really good at any of it. And so, number one, my husband is very supportive, and he's very driven in everything that he does as well. He's an ex-Marine, and so he's disciplined probably more than I am. But my priority is my family, my husband and my children. That is my main ministry. And then everything else I do with life coaching, teaching, all of that is extra to kind of help improve the entire world on a bigger scale. But my family is my main thing. And so most of my time is devoted to that. Of course, teaching, that spends, most of my day. But once I get home, I make time and say, I'm not opening the computer. I'm not, checking emails, anything until I've had time with my children and time with my husband. And so just setting your priority is how you can have that balance. And it doesn't look the same every day. Some days we have connect groups and I have to be there for those events at church. On Fridays, we feed the homeless every Friday. So I'm normally cooking on Thursdays. And so every day looks different, but just remembering what my focus and my priority is helps me to balance it all out. And the main thing is having time for myself. Now that's the hard part.
Yeah, it sounds like that because I didn't hear you in that list anywhere.
Well, I have gotten better. Okay, I've gotten better. And even for me, I don't really like to work out. But I do like to sit in the sauna. So I hope that it works. They say it can help you, lose weight or whatever. But that is my alone time. Even in the sauna, I can pray, I can think, just close my eyes and relax. Even if it's 10 to 20 minutes, a few times a week. And so I think that people get caught up in trying to have balance where everything is 10 minutes here, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes here. And life doesn't work like that because even in ministry, we have emergencies all the time. You have crises that come up all the time. And so I think that the word is probably not balance, but it's more so prioritizing our lives. And that's kind of, a thing that gives hope. When things get tough, I always tell myself, this is just a season, okay? So my kids are this age for right now. Our church is at this stage for right now. I'm at this year in my teaching career right now. And so things will get better, as they always do, and then they'll get worse, and then they'll get better, and then they'll get worse, and then they'll get better. And so I think it's about prioritizing, not necessarily balancing.
Now I really like that. I really do, because we talk so much about balance, but I don't know that you can actually effectively balance.
Right.
Because there are things that are going to be more weighty. Like you said, I know I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm an educator. You have a lot there, but at the end of the day, when you throw everything up, there's some things that you're just not going to drop. You're not going to drop the husband. You're not going to drop the kids.
I hope not.
Yeah, right. You're not going to drop the things that maintain your household, right? And so, but what I also like is you circle back and you brought yourself back in that picture. And I thank you. So give me just one moment. I just want to pause and just remind our viewing and listening audience that I'm Valerie Gilchrist. This is Esther's Purpose. I'm here with Britney Dent. talking to her tonight and getting some great information from her. I do want to remind our viewing and listening audience that we are broadcasting from WYTV7 out of Charlotte, North Carolina. WYTV7 is a nonprofit organization, and we do take donations. You can go right to the website, WYTV.org, click the donate button, and we'd appreciate whatever you can give. $7 would mean a lot to us, so that we can continue broadcasting and bringing on guests like Coach Britney, who can give us some good coaching on how to keep that balance going and all of that and set our priorities correctly. All right, Miss Britney. So you talked about that work-life balance, and you talked about, when you brought your coaching in, and we understand that you're an educator and all of that. Tell us what's going on. What is your priority right now? What are you all doing now? You said that your husband is starting a church. And so I know that because he is, you are too. So that's a big thing. And so how are you managing all the things that you're doing on top of now you all are starting a church?
Yes, and so I guess by default, I'm planting a church as well. We are one, and so it has been, interesting task. We had our Vision Sunday we were supposed to have it January, but in North Carolina, we've had the craziest weather over the last few months. I mean, it's ice and it's snow and it's hot and it's raining, and so we actually had to postpone things. And we had our first service in February, and so everything building up to that point, like I talked about with the prioritizing. That was pretty much top priority for those months that we were building up into February. And then now it seems kind of easy because we've gotten through the first service ever, but now we're building up to April. But the great thing is that we have a team. God has blessed us with a few people here in our city who are helping us, whether it's financially or helping us to market, helping us to study, just a lot of different things that people are doing to help us in this endeavor. And so it's not that bad right now. Even in ministry, there are ups and downs, and sometimes are busier than others. But it's not too bad right now. I think once the end of this month gets here, it'll be a little bit crazier, but it'll all be worth it. So I think we're doing pretty good right now with prioritizing and balancing that part of it. And like I said, my husband, he is the main one who's so driven with that, and he has his vision and he talks to God about it. And I think that everything's going to work out just fine in that area.
Okay, great. Well, tell us the name of your church.
Yes, so our church is Gate City Church of Christ, and it'll be in Greensboro, North Carolina. And Greensboro is nicknamed the Gate City. And then, of course, the biblical allusions to the gates in heaven and all of that as well. And so super excited for Gate City Church of Christ. We are on social media with hashtag We Are Gate City on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. You can find us in any of those places with the hashtag We Are Gate City.
Okay, well that's exciting. So we want to make sure that our listening audience knows. So if there's anyone listening to the broadcast from North Carolina, they'll know, because I know when my husband and I go on vacation, people think that, they're like, you guys go to church when you're on vacation? Yes. No matter where we are, if we're not home where we go to our church on Sunday, we're going to find church because we're going to go to church on Sunday. And we'll drop in. Yes, we're going.
Well, come visit. Come to Greensboro in April and visit us. Yeah, everyone is welcome all the time. And that's part of our mission, too, is to be a church for all people. Just because of the sheer fact of the things that I kind of mentioned earlier with me from my childhood, the things I deal with on a daily basis with my students or their families. I was a preacher's kid, but everyone around me didn't grow up in the church. And so people have what seems like crazy issues in life, and they're just looking for hope and love. That is all they're looking for. And whether they're getting that through promiscuity or drugs or something else, they're just looking for hope. And that's what, we're trying to provide through Christ is there's hope no matter what you're going through, even if it's been something in your childhood, something as a teenager, something as an adult. We just want to encourage everyone to come to visit us, and, open arms. We're just welcoming to anybody, whether you like church or not.
Well, Brenda, I'm really glad that you said that about that, you all have open arms for everybody to come in, because a lot of people do not really understand that. And I love the fact that you talked about why people do what they do. A lot of times people are thinking, oh, well, they just like drinking, or they just like drugging, or they just like the way that it makes them feel, or they just like to be mean to people. No, that's not it. There's an underlying issue. Something's missing, something's wrong. And so we don't see that. We just say, oh, they're just being kids. They're just drinking. They're just being kids. They're just, testing drugs out. They're just being kids. You always have the hierarchy with the kids, and kids are always going to be bullying kids. No, that is not all what that is. So when you are talking to parents, how do you help parents, not only being an educator as far as being, at the church or even at school? How are you helping parents when they've got a child that's maybe being bullied, or being the one who's bullying? How do you navigate that?
I'm very glad you asked that, actually, because even when you were just talking, I almost forgot, but I'll kind of reiterate it at the end maybe. Actually, I have a Facebook page for my business, just Britney Dent Coach, for my life coaching, and I do videos periodically about different things, whether it's bullying or drugs or sex or how to find a job, dealing with your kid getting their driver's license, any issue that a parent might be dealing with. And I actually have a master class coming up in April, and it's called Smart Kids Do Drugs. Smart Kids Do Drugs. Mm-hmm. And so I've been planning and prepping for that. And so that's open to anyone who interacts with any child, definitely preteen or teenager. And I'm going to talk about this epidemic of drug use and drug overdose and drug experimentation among all types of children. So that's something that I'll kind of send you the link for maybe later, so you can share that with your audience as well. But I've dealt with several clients who've had daughters that we call mean girls, depending on what time period you grew up in. And they're beautiful girls, they're smart, but they are bullying other people. And so what I typically do is get that child away from the parents so they can have an honest conversation with me about what's going on. And I found, contrary to the parents' belief, that the child is normally feeling kind of overlooked. Whether it's a single mom who's working 2 jobs, or whether it's a couple who they're traveling or doing something else, that child is feeling like she's not getting the attention that she wants or needs, and so she acts out. And it's interesting because a lot of times it's a client I'm dealing with who has a lot of money, and so they're like, I don't understand what's wrong with her. I mean, she has this or she has that, but I know it's kind of cliche, but that's not what they want and need. The time is more valuable. The presence more important than the presents. Okay, so a lot of the teenagers and preteens I've dealt with who are bullying, it's normally because they're wanting attention from their parents. Now, the ones who are getting bullied, it comes from that low self-esteem, that lack of confidence, whether it is from how they look or their academic struggles, or their family struggles, things like that. And so it's always something deeper, and it's normally a more family issue than an individual issue with the child.
Oh, now that was some good information, because when I was in school, we won't talk about when that was, but when I was in school,
not that long ago, all right.
Okay, yeah, let's stay with that. It wasn't that long ago, but I wasn't. And I'm not saying there wasn't bullying going on, but I wasn't aware of it, and it wasn't happening to me. Now, I wasn't by far one of the popular kids in any of that. But, that wasn't my experience in school, with the bullying. Now, when my children went to school, it became an issue, but I have twins. And so it wasn't a big issue, because if you got after one, guess what? That other one was on her way, right? So there was only so much you were going to do. So it was really good. It was a struggle having twins, but it was also good having twins, because they were always in school. I made sure they were never in the same class. Mm-hmm. I quickly learned that them being in the same class was not the thing to do.
Not a good idea.
Never. And so they were in different classes, but if there was a problem, one is going to come and see what's going on. And so I didn't really have to struggle with that, as a parent. But I can just imagine how difficult that is as a parent, and trying to figure out as the parent, as what you said, that was real interesting because I really didn't understand the whole bullying concept. So when you say, no, these are kids who are affluent, they have stuff that's not, they come from, intact homes, that's not the problem. The problem is attention. So, and you might not have this answer, but why do you think bullying is the thing to do to get attention?
I think that it's not necessarily that's the thing to do to get attention, but it's kind of whatever they can do to get attention. And so bullying is going to get you the most attention. And even now you have, I actually studied mass shootings and school shootings in my graduate program when I was getting my degree in criminology and sociology. And so you want to try to get the most attention, what's going to be the most effective. And so a kid just, staying in their room with the door closed, that's normal. So that's not going to get the parents' attention. That might, appease the parents because they're tired. And so what can this child do? And it doesn't necessarily have to be bullying someone at school. It can be doing something to their siblings. It could be something like stealing from the store, even though they are affluent. So whatever they can do to get the most attention. So it normally starts a little bit smaller. They'll try something and see how do the parents respond, how do they react, and then take it a step further to see, how much attention they can get.
Wow. Okay. Well, now I hope my audience has been really listening to this to see because I don't know that all of us know that. I know I didn't know that was really what it was, that they had these children, and it might not be for every single child, but a good percentage of them, could you say that's what it is? They are needing some attention. And so we've just got a few more minutes. But before we leave, I want you to talk to the parents. What would you say to a parent to investigate if you know you have a child that is bullying other children? This. So what does that parent need to do to try to help that child move out of that direction? As far as maybe giving them the attention that they need or getting them involved, what would you say to that parent who said, I have a child that's bullying and I don't know what to do? What would you say to them?
The main thing I would say is to be proactive. And so a lot of parents are surprised, even with a lot of things I discuss in my videos or discuss in my with my clients through different avenues. They're surprised to find this stuff out. And so I would say the best thing you can do is to be proactive. Dive into resources that you have, whether it's me or a different life coach, parent coach, your child's teachers. They know a whole lot that you may not know, or even the parents of their friends that they hang out with. Just be proactive in observing, first of all, what is going on with your child, and then listening. I have a whole program just on listening actively to your child. And a lot of times parents struggle with that for a lot of reasons. Not, that they don't want to listen, but a lot of things get in the way of them actively listening and effectively listening to their child. And so being proactive, taking time to observe and listen to their child, and then not thinking that they don't want to spend time with you, definitely with teenagers. That's who I kind of started out working with, and then my client base has just grown to a lot of different types of people. But teenagers do want to spend time with their parents, but they don't know how to express that because that's not the cool thing to want. That's not the cool thing to do. And so just being proactive, observing and listening, and kind of learning those listening skills that are effective will go a long way in understanding that. And then the last thing I'd say would be not to underestimate your child. I have so many stories of parents who, good or bad, I tell them something about their child, and they're just like, no way, not my kid. I'm like, yes, your kid. And I have videos and photos to show you, okay, yes, your kid, no matter if it's good or bad. So never underestimate your child. You don't know what they would do. And a lot of times you don't know why they're doing it, but a lot of kids are the same, no matter, their background. But it is surprising the different situations I see and the different dynamics. But just listen to them, observe, and don't underestimate what they could or couldn't do.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being with us, Coach Britney. But before you leave, someone listening to this saying, ooh, I would love for her to coach. I'd love to talk to her. I'd love to connect, find out the resource that she has. Give all of your social media handles, and how can people contact you directly if they wanted to contact you to come speak, to come coach, to do whatever that they need. So let them know that.
Sure. So my Facebook page is Britney Dent Coach. That's Britney with one T, Britney, Dent Coach. And there you can go to my calendar to book a consultation so we can discuss, coaching, whether it's a parent, a child. I do speak at schools, churches, nonprofit organizations, wherever I'm needed. As far as getting me to speak, an email would suffice. You can email coachbritneydent@gmail.com. And I have a speaking packet I can send over. I do free consultations to discuss kind of what's needed. And then my website is www.bestchoicecoach.com. That's bestchoicecoach.com, because that is my goal, to help you and your team make the best choice, okay? And so, yeah, Facebook, email, any social media that you can find. I'm on LinkedIn as well. My website is there. So however you want to reach me is fine. I'm just here to help in whatever way I can.
Okay. Well, thank you so very much for being with us tonight, Coach Britney. I want to make sure everyone knows that if you want to watch this again or listen to Coach Britney again or get her resources again, you can watch this program again and any of my other Esther's Purpose programs on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, YouTube, WYTV7.org, Spotify, TuneIn, Twitter, LinkedIn, BeanPod, and FM Player. You can also reach me. You can reach me at estherspurpose1.gmail.com. You can reach me there at gmail.com, estherspurpose1@gmail.com. You can also find me on Facebook with Valerie Parker Gilchrist or Esther's Purpose. You can find me on Instagram, Valerie_Gilchrist and Esther's Purpose. You can find me on LinkedIn with Valerie Parker Gilchrist. So I'm on all the social media platforms. If you'd like to book me for a speaking engagement, you can go to my website, www.estherspurpose.org, and you can book me there. Whatever that you need, we're here to serve. Britney, thank you again for being with us. I want to thank my audience tonight for listening. I know that you got a lot out of Coach Britney. Contact her if you need her. We'll see you all again next week. Thank you so very much for listening and viewing with us today. Bye-bye.